I've already endured Library of Ruina, so unlike my usual reaction videos to Library of Ruina and Limbus Company songs, this one's going to be a straight up analysis / breakdown. Today we're going to talk about Children of the City, and in particular I have my keyboard in front of me. We're going to be breaking down the song and truly understanding how it creates many of the feelings that we experience in game. If you want to talk more about Limbus Company, Library of Ruina, Project Moon, etc, I have a Discord, and you can find a lot of other people who love this series of games. So, let's begin. The first thing that immediately comes to mind, so to start off with, we're in the key of C minor here. We have 4 chords going on here. We have the C minor chord, G minor, A flat minor, and then B flat major. And that's very, very consistent throughout the entire song. The reason I mention that is because there's something about monotony that I feel is really prevalent throughout, obviously, the story itself. I'm not going to go too much into what kind of happens and the context, but if you've played Ruina like I have, you'll know exactly the sort of thing that I'm talking about. There's a feeling of being able to present monotony really, really well and having to do the same thing over and over again. And because the chords are very, very consistent, I think it helps it a lot. The biggest thing here is the consistency and the monotony of the vocals themselves. We're pretty much on the same note every single time. It's like a da 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 da. The occasional change in pitch, but largely we're very, very consistent. I think that's really telling as well about the story itself and the character that this represents.
Play on each, alright, or pull the trigger with her right hand. Only sign that's left is to work on following commands.
I think the really important thing about the lyrics there, work on following commands, is that I feel like the genre of the music itself and the thing I was talking about the consistency of the chords, really helps to kind of evoke that idea of just following commands over and over again. I love the phrases like this. Because what you might not notice there, it's actually just following the chords again. We have a B flat, a C. So even when it sounds like it's trying to do more kind of interpretive and interesting things, it's actually just still sticking to the chords. I'm almost imagining a robot in a sense, who's told to follow these strict commands every single time. Kind of like AI, to be honest. And I think it's really reflective in the song. We know of Cassie Way and Mili as a whole creating these really lyrical, grandiose pieces of music. All the stuff from Limbus Company, In Hell We Live Lament, for example. Hero, the stuff from Ruina, such as From a Place of Love. Gone Angels is a really good example of this, which have really elaborate melodic lines. This is very different. It's very much to the point. Da 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 da.
By the time you realize you'll be restrained to a desk, and with your dreams on the floor, you comply a string to the past. In 30 minutes, find a criminal bride or massive brunette. In 90 hours, build their insides, picture and picturesque.
We're now about to go into the section of the song, which is actually my favourite section of the song, and I'll explain why in a second. But I really like the drums. The drums are kind of like, it sounds like they're doing a lot, but in reality, they're actually not. It sounds like a lot's going on there, but it actually isn't. It's very much predominantly just a straight rhythm, and I think that goes back to this idea of the consistency, the familiarity, the having to do the same thing over and over again. Whenever the piece starts to become wider and more open, it's still kind of confined and restricted within certain parameters. I really like that idea. I love how effective the music is at telling the story. It's a thing I said in previous reaction videos, which you can check out in this playlist. The idea that so many songs from Limbus Company and Library of Ruina really do tell the story that they're trying to represent incredibly well. It feels like if you've played the game, on the one hand, you'll get it, in a sense. But even if you haven't played the games, I think you'll get it as well.
Now it's time for another vendetta. Going through the shows, picking out my parade and persona. Children of the
Even in this section, we are still just following those exact same chords, in a different order this time. Da 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 da. Children of the... An interesting point here about the pitch of the melody. So we have 3 chords going on here. So we have the... Then we go to the 4th chord, the G. Here's a bit of music theory. So the chord is supposed to be a G minor. But you might notice that Cassie doesn't sing within the scale of the song. She actually sings a note outside of the scale, something which is chromatic. She goes, children of the... Which is a B natural outside of the key. So to kind of show the entire phrase, so it's like... Da, 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 da. Da 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 da. Children of the... When in reality it should, if we're being perfect about this, be... It should be children of the... I like that. It introduces kind of a level of uncertainty, a bit of kind of tenseness to it. Like, all things aren't what it seems kind of feeling I get from that. That's what it should be. That's what it actually is. It sounds very off. Even if you don't know the chords and everything, it just sounds slightly conflicting.
city sees only the neon stars reflected upon the murky gutter sky. Don't ask me.
I like the irony of the lyrics reflected upon the murky gutter sky. All of those words don't feel like they should even be in the same sentence, but they are, and I think it really poetically explains the scenario to which this song applies to. I'd love to know your thoughts in the description of kind of how you perceive the meaning of the lyrics. There's a part of me that kind of reminds me of days of working very repetitive jobs, for example, and kind of hearing this like the soundtrack of my life in a sense. When things are a bit more repetitive and samey.
Why I desperately wish to be included in the city's night.
I could be wrong about this, but I feel like that's the first time we've heard background vocals in this.
Desperately wish. Gutter sky, don't ask me why.
Gutter sky, don't ask me why. Which, again, is a really interesting thing because much of these Mili songs use a ton of background vocals, and for this to contain so little is very surprising, but it works really, really well, and it, again, explains the track and the story behind it and everything that's happening in Ruina incredibly well too.
I desperately wish to be included in the city's night.
We go back to the chord progression.
In 400,000 meters, turn right.
Oh, we went back to a G. I was expecting it to go to a B flat. Maybe it never goes to that B flat.
Up a knife and stab a familiar warm body long to fight before I knew love.
Nah, okay, it does. If you heard the bass there, it did just go. But the interesting bit is that sometimes the bass won't go to the B flat and instead just go back to the G. Kind of feels very finite, like things are ending in a sense.
The bitterness of coffee, snippy scissors cut down the strings. I set myself free, only to figure out everything I chose was by proxy. As we circled upon the 9mm pacifier, swallowing the fact that other than to expand, we had no purpose. As my ever-burning love to stay afloat backfires, I now know I must be comfortable being wrong. Consider process, follow the city's ribbon.
I love the delay that's happening. It might be really subtle, but there's a kind of ping pong that's happening on again and again and again. Literally an audio effect demonstrating the word. Things are happening again and again and again in both ears. This is much easier to hear if you're wearing headphones.
To know that I am the reason why the sufferings never end. Now it's time for another vendetta.
There's a mellotron-like sound, the na 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 na, happening on the right, which I really like the sound of. It sounds something like this. Again, I like the thing about the mellotron as a sound itself. It reminds me of a lot of Beatles songs. They love using the mellotron in particular, but it has this kind of like vintagey, old school, it's the old days kind of sound to it, which again might be reflective of the story, but also kind of this idea of like we're going back in time in a sense. We're kind of experiencing the same thing that we used to experience.
Going through the shells, picking out my pre-written persona.
My pre-written persona. It's been a while since I finished Ruina, so please somebody in the comments remind me on what my pre-written persona might mean in this context, because I'm not actually sure.
Children of the city sees only the neon stars.
Oh, I love that harmony. So we have, let's figure out the harmony. So we have neon stars. And then the harmony goes, neon stars. So it sounds like this. It just sounds really beautiful in a way that this song kind of shouldn't sound beautiful in a way, but ultimately it is one of my favorites. If not, maybe it is actually my favorite Mili song. It could be. It could be. I need to think about it a bit more because I really love the stuff from the Key Ingredient album and all those renditions of the Library of Ruina. At least in particular the Library of Ruina pieces from that album. I really enjoy those.
Reflected upon the murky gutter sky. Don't ask me why. I desperately wish to be noticed by the city's eye.
In my last analysis video of Tian Tian, I mentioned the idea that to me that felt like one of the few Mili songs that feels like an ordinary song, so to speak, in the sense of the structure's a lot more familiar. There's a better sense of kind of like ordinary chord structures in terms of the structure of the piece, in terms of having like a verse, pre-chorus, chorus type structure. That felt more like a traditional song. I'd also apply the same with Children of the City on some level. It does feel somewhat more ordinary than other songs. Like compare this to, say, Through Patches of Violet, and you hear two incredibly different not only styles of music, but also structurally in terms of how they're written, two different ideas. One being a bit more chaotic in the sense of Through Patches of Violet, but also beautiful in its own right. This being much more familiar, more consistent, more predictable. The idea of having to work a job really repetitively for hundreds of years, for instance.
Do not go home until you finish reading the value of 2.718288145904523536.
I'm really curious of who came up with this idea. It's genius. It's amazing. I love the fact that they did it, but it's such like a, how do you think of this in a sense? What room do you have to be? What question was asked to which somebody replied, you know what? For the final part of the song, the outro, let's just say the value of E on repeat for ages, and that's just it. Like, I don't know what you have to do to think of that, but it's such a clever idea.
020874135269247099669967662.
And then just a long, luscious fade out. A bit more of a production thing. I don't know if there's any other music producers here, but I love the reverb that's used as well on the synths, that really long tail it has. It creates this kind of open feeling, and the synths themselves kind of really present the idea that we are in a city. It's just such an easy song to listen to. Like, there's nothing completely out there. There's no massive contrast and changes in dynamic. It feels very consistent throughout. And I think that speaks volumes to the character and the particular battle that I'm thinking of too. But I'd love to know your thoughts about the song. Random key for no reason. I'd love to know your thoughts about the song. How do you relate it to the story? How do you relate it to yourself perhaps as well? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, if you have another suggestion of something to analyze, react to, always let me know. I do pick some of them eventually. But until next time, take care. Goodbye, my friends. Oh, I can't believe I said it again.